I'm Sonny Liston, I'm Jack Dempsey, there's no one like me. I'm from Nairclaw. There's no one that can match me. My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable. And I'm just ferocious, I want your heart, I want to eat his children. I was gonna rip his heart out, I'm the best ever.
Right.
All right, we're off and running. We're just gonna do a little recap of yesterday, so that we can
some of the biggest fights in boxing history.
So we can never talk about this garbage again and only reference it in comedy.
It was the biggest fight in boxing history.
You watched the fight live, so I just watched it on YouTube. So you go. This is your lead, because I'm a real boxing fan, and we'll talk about what I watched after we talk about this garbage. Go on.
Well, I mean, how do we want to do? You want me to just go? Do you want to ask some questions?
I have no questions. I have all the answers.
All right. Well,
quotes.
Look.
Whatever cliches you want to use. Just your impressions. I mean,
look, we all know that.
I don't want to spend time technically breaking down what was essentially a glorified sparring session.
Look, we all know that Mayweather, he's not the same fighter he was 21 years ago.
Right.
He's not the same fighter he was 2 years ago.
He's not the same fighter he was 21 days ago from that garbage I watched.
But yeah, and I have an explanation as to why, because Mayweather didn't spar the last month leading up to this fight. Now, I want to ask you, did Floyd purposely unsharpen his tools so that it would make for the McGregor fight to look a little bit more competitive than it should have been, maybe in the first few rounds? Did he try, and also by not training as hard and going to Miami and all this other
the night before,
all of this, all these extracurricular activities? Did he do this to kind of sabotage himself in order to make it a good fight? Because he owes the fans.
Okay, maybe he did, but he didn't have to, because the sharpness was, when he wanted it to end, it ended. Essentially, he drug it out as long as. That's why, like, all the technical analysis, the MMA guys on ESPN, all the people, Conor did better than, like, dude. Okay, yeah, guess what? He can fucking throw punches. Oh, guess what? He's a fucking professional athlete who's at the top of his sport. Obviously, he's not going to look like a bum off the street. But this was a sparring session, down to the point where Floyd didn't do anything for 3 rounds, but just kind of walk around and let Conor punch himself. This was sparring.
Well, you say he didn't, but I thought he
$100 to watch a sparring session. Seriously.
Would you pay $100 to watch Errol Spence versus Mayweather sparring?
The one from before the Cotto fight, where I know for a fact that Errol Spence put it on Floyd Mayweather. Yes, I would pay $100 for that. Release the tapes, baby.
Well, look, you could say that he didn't do anything, but maybe Conor's his new methods, his creativity, maybe that was just something for Mayweather that he did have to register, because Conor was unorthodox, and Mayweather even said it himself. I know a lot of what he says is bullshit, but Conor did, I don't want to say pose problems, but he was a little tricky in there. His stance was kind of wide. He was doing some switching. He was able to extend on some of his punches to touch Floyd, where maybe Floyd didn't expect him to be able to. He thought he was out of reach. So I thought there were a few things early on the show. Hey, McGregor, he's not so bad.
Well, I mean, and we talked about this last week. Obviously, he's not going to be as bad as it was. As bad as those sparring videos, but he still was pretty easy to fucking hit. This came down to this is why none of this matters. This came down to the absolute basics, right? Of any sport, of any training. I'm going to compete in the sport. What's the most important thing before any skill that I have to show? What's the most important thing?
I don't know. You tell me.
You have to be conditioned for the sport. Period. Right? Who cares how skilled you are if you can't last, right? It's all about conditioning first, and then, your skills shake out wherever you lay. But he was not conditioned for it.
Right. But, leave it to the MMA fans and just general fans and just the casual fans, just the other media outlets. I think Conor got a lot of credit from them, and they were surprised. And I think he surprised me a little bit. But one of the things that's a little bit like, come on, guys. Look, McGregor landed 110 punches, right?
Yeah.
So there's this.
I watched the fight. About 95 of those were bullshit pity pat punches. None of his punches after the 4th or 5th round had any steam on them at all.
Yeah. So he landed 110 punches, and Pacquiao landed 81. And I don't know. I guess MMA or Dana White or whoever is in agreement with this, or Bleacher Report is I just retweeted it. I guess they're going to show that he did better than Pacquiao, but Pacquiao went 12 rounds. He didn't get knocked out, so that's a huge difference.
Pacquiao did not get knocked out. Okay, so
and let's also keep in mind that Mayweather, he fought the Pacquiao fight completely different than how he fought McGregor, because obviously the threat level was different.
If he would have fought Pacquiao this way, Mayweather would have went out on a stretcher. All right, let's get it right.
Well,
I'm going to start reading off some names.
Don't upset the Floyd fans.
Jesse Vargas, Manny Pacquiao, Jeff Horn, Lucas Matisse, Lamont Peterson, Danny Garcia, Kell Brook, Sean Porter, Earl Spence Jr., Keith Thurman. Do you know what all those names have in common?
They're boxers.
They would have all beat the living shit out of Mayweather, that version of Mayweather yesterday. That was a joke.
So this is an interesting question. Because to me, I thought that Floyd, he normally doesn't walk his guys down like exclusively like he did last night. So he looked a little bit awkward because he did miss some shots. He missed some of his offensive shots. Did you feel like it was an erosion of skills, or maybe he wasn't quite comfortable walking Conor down? Or maybe it's just the 2-year layoff and it was rest. What do you make of that? Because, look, Floyd, like you said, when he wanted the fight to end, he ended it. But make no mistakes about it, Floyd did not look spectacular last night. We didn't see vintage Floyd. Like, Floyd wasn't lighting Conor up. I mean, he was landing some rights, but I've seen Floyd look a zillion times better. Obviously, he is 40 years old, but what do you make of that?
I forgot why wasn't he lighting him up? I mean, he's just old. He hasn't boxed in 2 years. And
right.
He take this fight seriously. So there you go.
So, but do you think if he fought if you put another opponent in place, maybe a real top threat boxer? Because last night, I mean, that Mayweather that I saw, I mean, Earl Spence will give him the business.
It's hard to say. Because if he's fighting a real boxer, he's going to train differently, fight differently. Everything's different. But if I'm just saying that guy I saw last night, yeah, I mean, any of the guys I just listed, they end the show. Like, Floyd doesn't make it out of 5 rounds against those guys with that effort. That was a joke.
So to me, I felt like this fight, just from the casual perspective, obviously when you're tapped into the sport, we're all prone to be a little bit more cynical and skeptical of what's going on.
I didn't spend $100 on a sparring session. Go on. Casuals.
I didn't spend $100 on this either.
Freaking casuals.
I did buy some beer.
Go on.
But look, I forgot, what was I saying?
I don't know. You tell me, man. You tell me.
Okay, so yeah, I remember what I'm saying now. You're derailing me. Anyway, what I thought this fight played out kind of good for Mayweather in a way, because whether he was acting during the fight or whatever it was, he did have some troubles with Conor early. Conor actually, you want guys wouldn't give him shit, but Conor actually, I think Floyd threw a right. Conor actually dipped back and threw a counter uppercut, and he didn't Floyd completely clean on the chin, but it was there. And I think he landed a couple of them, so that showed some skill too. But I kind of felt like this fight, for the casual fan or the guys that were thinking that to justify this fight, that it played out kind of good, because Floyd did struggle early. Well, not struggle, but, seemed like he was problemed. And then, he slowly worked himself back into the fight, and then he got the stoppage right when he needed it. So,
I mean, this fight worked
from that regard, I felt like it played out good.
As scripted, as Floyd wanted to get back into good graces with the public after he was hearing shit for 2 years about the horrible Pacquiao fight. So this fight worked perfectly to a script. He looked kind of vulnerable. He came back. He beat a guy that the casual fans thought would knock him out. He got the knockout. So it went to a script. It went perfectly. So,
and we should note that also that McGregor never touched the canvas.
Yeah, but I mean, that's That's why it's a TKO. I mean, yeah, he didn't touch the canvas, but if there was no ref in the ring in the 10th round, he would have touched the canvas and more because he was done. He had nothing left in the tank. He was going down eventually. The fight was stopped with what, like 2 minutes left? You telling me he could took another 2 minutes of punches? He could barely stand.
Well, I do want to give Conor credit because, I mean, he's fought 25 minutes. This went into the 10th round. And,
yeah, but
and that does go to show that, you know, you were right about he had no power, obviously, because he was fighting.
He was tired. Floyd just did math in his head. Floyd did math. You could do the math yourself, right? Max is 25 minutes, right? Right around 15 to 20 minute in that range, you just saw he was done. He had nothing left. I mean, it's just math. Floyd was just waiting for the car to get on E, and when the car stopped, he got out. You know, he punched out all the tires, and he broke the windows.
The time was about double. Well, not double, but you know, it was past 25 minutes. Yeah. Look, I mean, we can't make too much of this, but I honestly did thought.
You are making a lot of
kind of what Conor did a little bit.
Oh God, come on, man!
No.
This was a fucking joke. All right, let me.
No. I get what you're saying.
Let me give you a comparison. Before the Berto fight, Floyd released for publicity because he knew nobody wanted to watch that. 20 minutes on ESPN of him sparring, and in that sparring session, right?
Did he?
Yeah, he did, and we talked about this. He was coming for. He fought very similar to now. I would say if you want to. You know, you want to prove me right, go and watch it. But, I mean, well, who wants to watch that? So, you know, you got better things to do with your day. But in that sparring session that he released and they showed on ESPN, it was like 20, 25 minutes. He fought very much the same way he did last night. Coming forward, letting the guy kind of punch himself out, very offensive. Just is almost to a T the same day. Obviously, he's a little faster because it was 2 years ago. But it was the same style, same everything. This was a sparring session. This is what I'm trying to tell you. He was just sparring in the ring, and he made everybody pay him for it.
All right, and let's speak to another topic that, you know, not irritates me, but it's like, come on, where there's this, you know, Mayweather has this backing, you know, this audience behind him, and they're kind of proud of this fight.
I mean,
so what do you? I saw there was a Sports Center montage where, I think they had like Scoop Jackson did it, where they talk about, oh, you know, he's unstoppable, he's never been beaten. It was like kind of a coronation type of a thing, but I mean, is this really something to celebrate? I mean,
I guess
his career was over after the Berto fight, and I'm looking at a tweet from Shannon Sharp. Don't want to hear Conor punches harder than Mosley, Cotto, Canelo, Pac. That's a lie, and Mayweather proved it last night. So there is this audience of people that thought that Mayweather proved something last night. We're impressed.
Yeah, and we call those right. There's two levels of casuals, right?
We call this TMT.
There's the sports casuals, and then there's the boxing casuals. The boxing casuals are like, yeah, you see Floyd, yeah, they're giving credit to this one. This is a joke. Everybody knows this is. If you follow boxing week over week, you know, month over, this was a joke. It was a joke when it was signed. It was the fight was a joke. The tension, the intensity, the pace of the fight, everything was just sparring. So I don't know. You got more to say about this? Because I'm done.
You're done. Okay, so Mayweather says he's done. Speaking of being done, but I kind of feel like, now you can call me crazy, I have a little conspiracy theory here, that given that he didn't look as sharp, right? He didn't look as spectacular as you would expect Mayweather, especially versus an MMA fighter, correct?
Okay.
Or was this all a facade? Anyway, it doesn't matter. I kind of felt that he looked not vulnerable, but maybe a top boxer around, you know, sees that they could take on Floyd. I feel like there's still some public interest in seeing, well, maybe this old Floyd can't get it done anymore. And if a name in boxing could emerge in the next a year and a half, because he's 40, so he's going to stop at some point. I think he could build up enough momentum and leverage to where Mayweather could get himself another $100 million payday.
Nope. No. Floyd will never be in the ring with the guy with the young. Or he always talks about young, hungry lions.
He did say, hey, all you young fighters, don't call me out. I'm not fighting you.
No. Okay, the name you're talking about. Because for a name to generate, and we're talking about boxing, right? We're not talking about, I got to watch WrestleMania next week, right? We're talking about actual boxing.
Right.
We're talking about guys who box. This is not game. This is
Yes.
box. For a name to generate, that means the guy has to be pretty much the number one welterweight or junior middleweight in the world, right? Floyd's not going to get in the ring with that type of guy. That guy will eat him alive. That guy would have ate him alive.
You believe so?
Last night, he will eat him alive in a year or two. No. This
Because
was
we never
a
see
money
Floyd.
grab. This was a money grab.
I know. Because we've never seen Floyd. Floyd's been in a couple of tough fights, but we never seen Floyd really looked, really past it or washed up. So
he's
couldn't
smarter.
there still be that element that he could?
You're telling me
beat a younger fighter?
You telling me the guy who just literally just conned the public out of hundreds of millions of dollars back in the Pacquiao fight and the McGregor fight, who's smart enough to do that, is going to be dumb enough to get in the ring for way less money against somebody who could potentially KO him and tarnish his legacy? No. Are you out of your mind? He's not. You're saying, is he going to go out like Klitschko? No, he's not. He won't take that risk.
But if the payday is right.
There is no payday that will be up higher than this. Okay, you're asking me if the guy who robbed the bank is going to go back because he forgot $2 on the floor. No, he's not going to. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting.
I know you're trying to put a positive spin on this, but this is crap. It was a show. It was a game. Like Triple G said, it's over. All right, we can move on to actual boxing. MMA world can move on to actual MMA. It's over. All right, everybody have fun. There was nothing to watch this weekend. They found something to watch. There you go. It's over.
Does this raise McGregor's? Would you be interested in watching McGregor fight UFC now, or just no?
Because I'm not. I don't watch. Okay. I've never watched a round of 10 seconds, anything of MMA. It's just not a sport I'm interested in. So, and that has nothing to do with who's fighting. I mean, the closest that I've been interested in watching UFC is John Jones, or Nate Diaz, I guess, the guy who spars with Andre Ward. But that's the closest, because those guys have. That would be a good fight. Yeah, so that's the closest I've come, but I mean, not really. I mean, it helps his profile because he gets a save face. He can claim that their stoppage was too early. Blah blah blah. I literally do not care. Can we move on?
All right.
There was an actual real boxing fight yesterday.
So 50-0. Farewell, Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah. All right. There was an actual real boxing fight yesterday at the StubHub Center. I thought the HBO crew did an excellent job of highlighting the mystique of the StubHub. Yeah. See, I'm not a casual, so I was watching live. They did a great job of highlighting the mystique of the StubHub Center, pointing out some of the great fights of the year that have been there. They touched on really the core of why there's always great fights at the StubHub Center, and that's because of the intimacy. And they were hinting at it and stuff, but Roy Jones put it in plain English in the best way possible, as Roy Jones always does, right? I'm a big fan of Roy Jones on the mic. He said, it's not because it's outdoors, it's not because of the type of fans that are here, it's just because it's so intimate. It feels like every seat at the StubHub Center is a front row seat, and that puts pressure on you when you're in the ring. So it's a different level. So Ray Vargas and Ronnie Rios, they had a decent fight. Because you want to talk for 3 hours about Mayweather and McGregor, so we don't have time to get in that. It was a decent fight.
I didn't even get to see that one.
It was good action. But Vargas dominated the fight. But it was good action. So then Cotto returns. The fans did a good job of really giving him his due as a future Hall of Famer,
his respect,
and as a real legend.